Hello? Is that working? Okay, internet, can you hear me? Okay, I'm going to assume that you can hear me. So for the next half hour, a bit less, I'll talk about this thing I made called TidalCycles. I thought it'd be nice to have a bit of talk about, oh yeah, the camera's there. Thought it would be nice to have a little talk about Tidal. Maybe this could be the first of a series of Tidal clubs. We used to run Tidal clubs in Sheffield every month. Organising it got a bit much for Lucy and me, but yeah, it'd be nice to try something similar out online. So I've got a few things I thought I could go through. Usually when I start on this sort of thing in workshops, I find that time goes very fast. So I'm not sure how much I'll get through, but I'm also very keen to hear questions via... I'll mainly have my eye on the chat in the YouTube thing, which is youtube.com Eulerroom/live. Okay, so let's get started. I just picked out a few things from that have come into Tidal fairly recently, or in the case of Chunking Off, they're a bit older, but I just really like them, so I thought I'd cover those. I'll try and use standard samples just so that the default samples, so that if you type them in yourself, then you will actually hear something. So just a quick sound check. Okay, hopefully you hear a drum there. So let's just start with a simple pattern. I always like to pitch up drums, they just sound better. I don't know why people don't just pitch up drums all the time. Okay, so while, this is quite new. While is really nice for turning on and off functions. So if you have a function like hurry2, you can hear that makes things faster and also speeds up the play rate, back rate of the samples. So it just makes it faster. And you can pattern that if you want. But let's say that I wanted to only have that some of the time. You can do things like rarely. So now it only does it rarely. That's quite nice though. But for a bit more control, we can say while. So now it says while and then T, which stands for true. If I wanted, I could also use a 1 here. So this is what's called a binary pattern. So a binary pattern is a pattern of things which are either true or false. And that's it. So this here is a pattern of numbers. This is also a pattern of numbers. This is a pattern of words. And this is a pattern of true and false values, also known as Boolean values. So I can do this sort of thing. So now for the first half, it does hurry, and for the second half it doesn't. If I populate the sound a bit more, you'll hear that more. Because this is a binary pattern, we can also pattern that. So I've now got it so this binary pattern is itself transformed. So it will shift that by a quarter, because I've got a 4 here, every cycle. So that's all good. Or if you wanted to just do that every other cycle, we could do that. So these angle brackets just pick one value per cycle. And things like that. So let's try this on a longer sound. So arc, I think that is in the default sample. Sorry if not. Well, I know this one definitely is. Oh, it doesn't. Okay. I think that's a bit of amen. So if we instead did that here, we could say while 1 0 and maybe add a bit of crush to it every other cycle. Oh, I'll put a 2 there, that's probably breaking it. I'll put a hurry in there as well to make it more interesting. And Jux Rev. And then can add more variety. You can also invert these binary patterns. So let's say every third repetition, invert that for extra variety. Yeah. So yeah, look at while, that's fun. Okay, so I've already used like a third of my time. But never mind. Simon asked, does the chop 16 there are now 16 events in the cycle? Yes, that is true, Simon. Yeah, so chop will turn this one event into 16, where each one is a 16th of that sound. What is the dot operator? Okay, so that's actually a fairly advanced topic. That's fine though. That's what we're here for. So let's just say I had this really simple pattern. And every third repetition, I wanted to reverse it. But then also every third repetition, I want it to go twice as fast. You could do it that way. This is a function, this is a function. Or you can just join them together. So this is a Haskell operator for joining together two functions into one. It only works if, well, in Tidal it'll only work basically if they're both functions which take a pattern as input and a pattern as output. So it's kind of chaining them together. Reverse takes a pattern and gives you a new pattern, and then that gets passed using that into Hurry 2, which then gives you the resulting pattern. Okay, so I had a couple of questions. One from Mike. Can in Dome, who asks, why is Tidal addictive? I don't think scientists have come up with an answer to that yet, but the experiments are ongoing. For now, Tidal is completely legal. You don't have to worry about that. Simon asks, more hints for playing longer samples. So I've already done a bit, and actually, it's not here. Okay. Longer samples, I really like slice and splice. So I'm going to use this sample, which is quite... Oh, actually, I won't, because that has... If I use that, then the copyright police will come down on this channel like a ton of bricks. So instead, I'll just use that same break. So we already did chop, and then loop at, which makes it line up with the cycle by adjusting the speed perfectly. But another way of doing that is splice. So here I've actually said cut it into 8 bits, and then I've got a pattern of those bits. So if I just had the first 3, it would actually slow down and just play the first 4 of them. 4, I said, 3. So yeah, you can really have a lot of fun with making patterns of bits. If I use slice instead, then it wouldn't pitch them. So you can hear they're not, the actual bits of sound aren't compressed to fit their little slot in the pattern. Sounds interesting though. Okay, so I'm halfway through. Never mind. Zoo and Zoo asks, what's a good source to begin learning Tidal? Yes, I know that Google exists. So I think there's loads online. So one thing that I've been working on is Tidal worksheets with my friend Lucy Cheeseman. And you can have a look at those. These are designed for workshops, but this is sort of work that is actually feeding into the book that I'm hopefully working on, which you can find out more about on my coffee page. I don't want to be too self-promoting, but never mind, here we go. You can find about that on the blog post on my coffee page. And yeah, obviously videos like you see in there's been some Tidal videos on this stream, and so you can see what other people are using. But what I really encourage you to do more than anything is come to the Top Lap chat, and in particular the Tidal channel. There's quite a few there, including snippets. And ask questions. So if you see a function you don't know what it means, don't worry about Google, just come and ask, and we'll come and we'll explain it to you. And if there's something you want to know how to do, don't struggle, just ask the question, because it might be there is a way to do it, but actually it'd be better to add a function to Tidal itself. So a lot of things that have driven the development of Tidal is beginners who have a unique experience and view on Tidal come in and asking what they think often is stupid questions, but actually it's led to a step change in the development of Tidal. So ask lots of questions, and of course go to TidalCycles.org, which I think is also HTTPS. And there's lots of documentation. Right, so where are we? Okay. Just check. How can you fit them? Right, okay. Yeah, another new thing which is nice is this sort of thing. So you can do this to play two sounds at the same time. Ah. But if you put this, then it'll only play one of them at random. It's quite a nice way of adding variety. There's not much more to say apart from that. It's just some new syntax that's been added fairly recently. So how are we doing? Okay, 11 minutes. Yeah, please do ask more questions. And what we got? Chunk. So let's say you've got, I'll use a synthesizer for now. Huh, I thought I would. That's not working. Did I type that wrong? Okay. Bit of a bug there for some reason. Right, so let's say I had a pattern like this. I'd use legato to make it a bit longer. So I'll start with off. So off is where you can add a transformation that kind of sort of transform a pattern and make that transformed version of it follow the original, creating what I've realized recently is called a canon. So if I offset by 0.125, which is a eighth, then I just say add 7 to n to the note. So I'm using note names here, but you can mix note names with numbers, no problem. So add 7 to it, and then so if I stop that again, you can hear the original still there, but then on top an offset by an eighth, you get that. By the way, instead of 0.125, you can just put E for eighth or S for 16th or Q for quarter, or T for third, or 3/16. I think. Something going wrong there, I think. Anyway, this is something I do a lot. And if I pattern this with a bit of Euclidean syntax, and it's nice to do this a couple of times. I'll make it go up an octave by 12 notes this time. And then if I offset it, but change to a different synthesizer, what we got? Voice. And always good to Jux Rev. chunk is something else. So here, if I just slow it down by 2. So chunk will, each cycle it'll pick a different quarter because I've put 4 and step along each cycle picking a different quarter to apply the function to. I'll take that voice off because it's kind of hard to hear. It slows down the whole pattern as well because it's picking a different quarter each cycle, which means that it takes 4 cycles to go through one. If that makes sense. If I also I'll go down an octave here. Okay, get the idea. So I've only got 5 minutes and I've got another question about the @ operator, which I've been having a lot of fun with lately. For example, on this. So this again is using the sort of simple new ratio shorthand, so that is a quarter, so that would be the same as 0.25. That's a half, so that would be the same as a third, which would be what? I don't know. Something like that. So there we go. So it's basically saying this step, make it play it for a quarter of a step. So if we had BD, let's use super mandolin. So if I said make that a half step, it makes it play for half the time of this. And that means this is a whole step, this is a half step, so that makes up 1.5 steps, which is a bit confusing, but that's squashed to fit a cycle still. So it's not like it's a half of a cycle, it's a half of a step. And what a step is in time is what the total is. Yeah, it's a bit confusing because Tidal is very oriented around cycles rather than beats. Which means if you mix like a half and a third, you start getting quite complex rhythms quite easily. So let's try 16th there. And so here what I've done in this track is kind of carried across the same rhythm. So there's a QHT, QHT in these different parts. So it kind of fits together even though it's quite strange. And here I've actually done it on a splice of a breakbeat, so that really makes the breakbeat very crazy because it's following this strange rhythm, but it still splices it and squashes it into it. So yeah, it's a nice quick way of coming up with weird rhythms, basically. Okay, that's all the questions, and I've got 2 minutes left. I can very quickly show you how to do time lock delay. So just with a simple, if you turn lock on and turn on some delay, and then say how long the time is. So this is now in cycles. So normally time delay would be in just seconds, but if you turn lock on, then it's locked to the tempo and it fits the cycle. And then I can increase the feedback. So I think I can put, no, it's not much doing much. Okay, maybe not. All right, well, that's not working. It seemed to be working at the start. I don't know what's gone on. Oh, well. I better stop now. It's my time's up, but enjoy the rest of the stream. It's been emotional, and see you later on, and see you on the chat. All right, bye.